Welcome back to Clubhouse Chronicles. This is the place where the Central Illinois scene gets loud, proud, and unfiltered. I'm Twitt, your host with the most, ready to spin you the stories, the sounds, and the struggles behind the bands that are making waves right here in your backyard. This show is powered by our friends over at Broken Record Music Club, your favorite independent record label, bringing you music for whatever you are going through. With that, let's buckle on up because this isn't just a podcast. It's your front row ticket to the heart of the indie music scene. Today, we are talking to the punk queens of queer, straight from Champaign-Urbana. They've been all over the state, bringing tunes for the girlies, the guys, the gays, and everyone in between. I'm talking about the coolest cunts around. You know them. You love them. Give it up for Kenna May Rice and Ori Sergel of Sweetmelk. Welcome to the Clubhouse.
What's up?
Hi.
I hope you guys like the
what was that? Cunts, queens of queer.
Queens of queer and the coolest cunts around.
That's pretty cool. That was a pretty cool intro to it.
Well, I was inspired by your call on stage. Cunts to the front.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll get into that later. I have a question dedicated to it because I was like, what a catching thing to do at a show. But thank you guys so much for spending this evening with me and telling me a little bit about your story.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah. This is awesome.
Kenna, I first heard you at Gender Envy, which was a show at the coffee house in Bloomington Normal. And we were talking about it a little bit before we started recording. But as soon as you walked up on stage and you started playing and singing, your voice literally forced me to listen to your entire set and focus. Not to say that all the other groups weren't good, because it was a great bill put on by great people.
Oh, yeah.
Your voice was just grabbed me in a way that I was like, I need to hear what you had to say. And as you move through your entire discography, you hear a wide range of ways that you contort your voice. How did you discover your crazy music talent that you have and get your start in music?
Thank you. That's all super kind. And that show was really fun, particularly because Rebecca Mangles and the rest of the Gender Envy crew really took the time to put together a bill that was all queer fam and all queer people. As a non-binary person and a trans person, it's really rare that we get to be together and just celebrate each other and not have it be like a commodity thing or be like we're one of the only ones on the bill, so that was really a special show. So I'm glad that it spoke to you. What was the rest of the question? Because that show was so fun. How did you get into music? How did I get into music? Singing. I just sort of came out talking and singing. I think I sang before I talked. Yeah, my dad is a drummer, and I grew up watching my sisters learn to play from him and coveting a guitar that he hid behind his door that I would go and mess with the tuning knobs and stuff. But I've always been writing. I was always writing. I remember writing something in purple marker about a staircase up the stairs and through the door. Oh my God. Edit that out. I'm just kidding.
Everyone's got to start somewhere, right?
But I remember it. I remember the piece of paper and it was purple marker. I think I was probably 11. But I was there's stupid videos on VHS of me just full on gibberish.
Singing staircase songs?
No, this was before I learned language. Before I learned language.
That's cool.
I've been doing it the whole time.
If your family doesn't have embarrassing VHS photos, it's kind of a red flag, I think.
Yeah, I think you're probably an android. If there's no video.
I feel especially those 90s, 2000s kids,
or you were just the third child and mom
just completely forgot about you.
Enough already. We know
what walking looks like. We've seen 2 other people do it. Get it together. Yeah, you're either an android or the third child.
Those are your 2 options.
And I am the third child, so
hopefully there are VHS tapes of you then. Hopefully
there are. Yep, definitely.
Other than Kenna, we have Ori sitting here, and she's super talented as well. Ori, why don't you tell us about your journey in music and how you ended up as a member of Sweetmelk? Because as I was doing my research, it kind of looked like you're newer to the band as of last year. So kind of tell us how that came about as well.
So my relationship with music, I think, basically since I was like, really, really young. The way I listened was mainly with emotion. Before I started listening to things like analytically, like the way emotionally things made me feel and the rush that it gave me was like just this stimulus that I could not get enough of. It was like magic. It was like, yeah, I don't think any other feeling in the world like it to this day. So it was always, and especially like, growing up and being a teenager and being a queer kid in the like 2000s and just dealing with, I think, a lot of the shit going on. That was my escape. Like it became sort of my own world that I had domain over, and all of a sudden, like, walking through a hallway full of people staring at you like doesn't really bother you, because like you have like your own world that is just the way you're emotionally connecting to it, it's yours. Then when I tried a bunch of different instruments, and it was hard for me to like trust that like the work that I was going to put into them was going to pay off and I was going to be able to play the things I wanted to hear. So like I tried guitar and like I couldn't make myself like feel with the instrument. And I tried playing piano and the same thing, but with drums, I think especially because you're not working with like pitched things and you're not having to learn like melodic music theory, it was a lot easier for me to sort of like conjure up emotion in my playing. And that just created this loop where I just felt good. And so then I would want to practice for 8 hours. And then that like just kept going and going and going. And then in regards to your second question of like what led to being a part of the band, I first met Kenna at a jam session about like 5 years ago or so.
No, further back.
Further back?
Like Iron Post?
I've been in this town too long. I came down here for undergrad and grad school for jazz performance, and there was this place in town called the Iron Post where a lot of jazz bands would play, but they would have these jam sessions, and I was just like kind of hosting on drum set and then playing, and Kenna walked in and
bartending. I was bartending.
Much similar to what you described earlier. They sat in, I heard them sing, and immediately I was like, who the fuck is that? And like the talent was evident, the expressiveness is evident, and the way that I could see them like immerse themselves into the music was both like really relatable and just really wonderful to watch. So we had a pandemic that hit and stuff. We sort of lost touch, but then reconnected and started talking and both really dug each other's sounds, and eventually
we're sort of always like trying to find a way to make music together.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I had some lineup changes occur in Sweetmelk that just sort of needed to happen, and we'd been trying to find a project. Like, she's got a master's in jazz. Is it?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, a master's in jazz. And I grew up loving jazz. Like, I used to have like a record player, and I had this Decca records of Billie Holiday, and I lived in my parents' basement in high school and pretended I was some like European bitch, listening to jazz and smoking cigarettes in the stairwell, pretending that my parents didn't know. It was obvious cigarettes reek, but there's like, we have a jazz connection too, and so we were trying to figure out, like, when I had my other lineup, like how to make music together. And that was one way that we were going to do it. And then life happened, and it was like,
things just fit.
Would you please?
Yeah, well, they were like, so if I ask you to maybe learn and I was like, in a second, I'll do it. I just didn't want to ask because it's your thing. Like, I so badly wanted to be a part of the group. So yeah, working with them as a songwriter and as a musician, I was like, this is like the first time I can remember where this is like a project that I really believe in. It's not just another gig on like my freelance calendar. This is like full on
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had to be a great feeling to have that consistency and not just like you said, you're not just a session musician anymore. You have more ownership in it, and you're participating in bigger and better ways to make the band better.
Yeah, I didn't realize how badly I needed that, but I think there's some disillusionment of freelancing so many years and really not like, kind of keeping your clients at arm's length and not necessarily taking responsibility for like trajectory of the project or anything. I'm kind of, I'm there to do a job and put 100% effort in like
And
the
doing a
music
job
in that
well.
moment and performing,
Yeah.
but it's not, I didn't create the thing. I'm not creatively immersing myself in the same way that I'm doing with this. And it's, I would say that like, it's rare I have something where I'm like, okay, this is completely ride or die. Like everything about this, I'm 100% in on, and Sweetmelk is done.
Well, that's not the only thing that was kind of born of you guys getting together as a band. I saw in my research that you two are also in a relationship.
Yes.
And was that
pretty intense research you did?
Yeah.
Instagram is a wild place that you
It's a
can
wild
find
place.
a lot of stuff. Was your relationship a result of Ori coming into the band, or did you two just start seeing each other prior, or how did it come about, I guess?
So I know that listeners are going to laugh at your phrasing because I laughed at your phrasing, but we're going to move on.
Ken and I like hanging out over the year or so before I joined the band, and I think 2 years now, we've pretty much bugged each other nonstop.
Yeah.
There was will they, won't they talk about that for like
the
ever.
whole time.
I remember like so many people coming up to me and going, "What's the deal with you and Kenna?" Blah blah blah. And
to the point where when we finally did start dating,
it wasn't really like
we reached out to
it was
like
just
tell
like,
people.
oh wait, they're not. Like they weren't already.
We were like so excited, like, oh my god, like we're in love, and our friends were sort of like, we thought you knew that.
Yeah.
Which was incredibly affirming and then also incredibly frustrating.
I want my flowers.
Like, fuck you. Like, be excited for me. Yeah. Say, oh my god, tell me everything. Instead, I had to be like, this is what you're supposed to say, and now I'm going to tell you everything.
But to answer your question a little bit more on like, was it a result of the band? I would say it kind of preceded that. There was chemistry just talking with Kenna and relating with them from, I think, that first jam session when I met them and just talking with them on the patio outside.
Yeah.
And then the band stuff stemmed out of the friendship and the relationship that we were already building, which was like being able to confide in each other, being able to be a place where you didn't feel judged, a place where it felt like you could fucking be yourself. Feel like you were being seen as yourself.
And I think the trust, I think what's so cool about it for me is that our friendship was so deep and thorough, and we got to build intimate trust via making music as a duo, which is really like, there's no real fucking up. Like, it's just us up there. It's just us together. And so like learning to just lock in and trust is like a huge part of a successful relationship, especially a successful polyamorous relationship, which we also are. It's just like a constant trust fall. And that being solidified in music and in performed music as well. Like, it's not just music that we're making together in my room. We're in front of people and we're like trying to share that trust space.
That's right, kids. Every good relationship should feel like you're falling. And if someone doesn't catch you, you're going to hit your head.
And everyone will laugh at you. Everyone in the audience will laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. Ha ha ha. But no, I think that's the coolest part for me is it's almost like they're both congruent shapes, They're not separate, but they're also not like, we don't keep them separate. Like, we're not just like, here's my business hat, and here's my hot hat.
Those are the two hats.
Those are my two hats. Yeah. This is my business hat right now.
Everyone has those two hats. So.
Everyone has their hot hat and their business hat. And this is my business hat.
Yeah. I don't know if we actually answered your question.
We did.
You did.
Ramble for that.
Did we?
You did.
Well,
you did.
Sweetmelk.
Controlled chaos. It's okay.
I wouldn't. You can't see beyond the camera. You know what I mean? This is a very articulated world.
Oh, what? Just the state of the room?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, just hearing you both talk about your relationship together, the way that you guys play is very intimate, like you were describing. I'm sure that adds so much to not only the relationship, but also the music that you guys are making. In turn, that has an impact on the audience and the people listening. So going to a Sweetmelk show is just all of the feelings and all the passion and all the whatever emotion you're trying to convey through your lyrics.
Yeah.
And I just found it very interesting while I was researching, because that elevates it, I think, when you have a healthy relationship and you're able to create works of art together. I did have a separate question. So when you guys switch, do you guys switch between like, okay, this is time to be music and personal time? Or is there a certain way that you go about balancing it? Because I feel like there's high stake emotions in a relationship, and also high stakes emotions in being a band.
100%. I think it's something we're still learning.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think they're not totally separate, and they're not totally the same space. I think we'll even make like comments sometimes where I'm like, sorry, I've got like my business agenda hat on right now, but like that doesn't mean I'm like shedding off my like intimate feelings or anything like that. But it's like, if I seem a little bit, and I'll sometimes preface with this of like, if I seem a little short right now in how I'm talking, or I seem a little bit like I'm rushing you, it's just that I'm trying to like just go through like the business stuff that we have for the day, for the stuff with the band. And so it's a mix of like sort of trying to push each other to get work done and to check in of like, hey, is that okay? It can be challenging, and there's times where I think the thing I really appreciate is just like sometimes just getting that, hey, like I get we got shit to do right now, but I just can't. Like and so right now I need just like
cuddles.
yeah. And so
and she's like, okay.
Yeah, but we got 8 things to do on the list. So it can be hard to shut off business mode, but
I think also like it's pretty good communication from the get-go. So like our friendship was always something where we kind of gave context to one another for like where we were emotionally that day. And I think that stems back to also like the way that you talked about connecting with music. Like you connected with music first emotionally, and I did too. Like, so I feel, I don't know. I feel like that's part of it.
Yeah.
Ramble?
Not a ramble. You're good. You can put the speculations to rest, folks. They're together. Give them their flowers, for Pete's sakes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Let me brag. Like, good God. All my friends are like, yeah, whatever. You have a girlfriend.
That's
and I'm like, fuck you.
That's as much as I'm gonna mush about our relationship.
No, I think we should mush more. Tell them.
They're in love, for Pete's sakes.
Tell the people.
Oh my God.
Oh my
God. We will move on from
so cute
though.
Stuff. Okay. We can move on.
So I want to get to the start of Sweetmelk. So Kenna, you started Sweetmelk officially in 2020. And for the most part, it's been filled with a lot of like punk anthems, like Spit It Out, Sky Blue, two of my favorites. The one spot that the punk is missing is your 2021 EP, Living Room.
Yeah.
And it is a beautiful set of songs. But as I was like listening through the whole discography, I was like, one of these things isn't like the other. Not that it wasn't good, but it was just really slow, really thoughtful, and had like you could feel the deeper meaning to them. Was there a reason that you kind of went that route before coming back on like Playhouse? Or was this just a product of like you expressing yourself as an artist in the moment?
Well, I think that it's a little bit of both. Before I started Sweetmelk, before I changed the name, I went by my name, Kenna May. It's just like singer-songwriter stuff. So the Living Room album is a lot more akin to shows I used to play when I was just solo with my acoustic guitar. And I think that Spit It Out kind of resulted. Spit It Out was made with James Streichler and Wave Upon Wave studios in Champaign as a sort of like calling card, because I was like, oh. I just got into a flow, and he's gone. He's gone.
I don't know
He's
what
back.
happened. So my setup is I have this monitor right here, so that's what I'm like looking at. I have my webcam up here, and then I have my laptop just hooked up to it over here.
Yeah.
And so I don't focus on this second screen. I
Did your
close it a little
laptop
bit.
die?
It didn't die because I plugged it in during your last question because I got the notification. I was freaking out.
Yeah.
But then I didn't close, but it said it closed, and then it just ended the call. So my apologies.
All good.
Actually, I gotta end it now. I'm done.
This is where we tell it.
I blew it. God damn it.
I was mid thought. No, I'm kidding. I don't remember what I was saying.
So Kenna and the evolution into
I felt like I was in trouble. You said Kenna.
Full government.
Woo!
Oh,
yeah, you had asked me a question about.
So you were talking about your singer-songwriter where you were doing stuff solo, just you and your acoustic guitar.
Yeah, that's what I was doing for a long time. I've had bands over the years, and always with a sort of like desire, an explicit request of like, I'm tired of being the only one screaming on stage. And then I figured out that I needed to play an electric guitar for people to understand screaming and context. And so that kind of evolution occurred there. And just playing a different instrument, I think, inspired different things. Because we were talking about this earlier. She's always learning different instruments. And we were talking about the differences between kind of electric and acoustic guitar and just how they sing totally differently themselves. Like they're very different instruments. And I played an acoustic guitar as if it was the entire band, my whole communicator forever. That's how I wrote songs. I'm not a theory person. I'm not like, I'm all ear. So I'm all feel. So transitioning, like when I was playing earlier in Sweetmelk, when I had like a 5-piece or the 3-piece, I'd send a lot of acoustic demos trying to communicate rhythm because I can't speak it or notate it, but like grew up raised by a drummer and have been writing songs the whole time. So it's just, I have something, but I don't know how to quite articulate it all the time. And I think playing with Ori is kind of the first time that I don't have to articulate on the acoustic guitar. There's something that she hears. There's just so much fun in hearing each other between the snare and the guitar. Like there's just so much fun for me. I have so much fun. We had rehearsal earlier today, and it was like just so fun playing music. I don't know. I forgot the question because I remembered having so much fun
music's
earlier.
fun.
Music's so fun.
Moral of the story is music is fun.
Entirely.
But like,
I see what you did there.
I was
She's
so stupid.
They're a little punny.
I'm a pun master. Oh, that was dumb. Okay, but what was the question?
Was there like, so like, especially from like living room to Playhouse? Like,
the pandemic happened, and I was horny and by myself, living in Pontiac, taking care of my grandma, and I wrote Playhouse because I just really, there was so much introspection I feel like we were being called to do. You know, the Black Lives Matter movement was happening at like a massive scale, and everybody was watching the news, and it was terrifying. I was taking care of my grandmother who was in her, the time I was like full-blown caregiver, and we were just watching the news all the time, and it was terrible. And I just really wanted to not be responsible for so much. Like that was when we were like bleaching boxes, taking them home from the store and like bleaching them outside before we would bring them in. Like it was terrifying, and everyone was buying everything up, and it was awful. It was such a scary time.
Yeah,
and
sucks.
Like, so I definitely wrote Playhouse, that song in particular, just about a desire to like not have to do something serious, like to just like have a good fucking time and not be worried about anything and not have all these big expectations. And then I think what I was saying when we had our glitch, I'm now back on track, was Spit It Out, I made with James Treichler at Wave Upon Wave as a calling card to find heavy musicians who could approach it from the emotional singer-songwriter position. And at the time, I found great musicians. James Mock and Stephen Emerson are both really incredibly artful players. And there was some incredible music that we got to make together. And I got to really flex my muscles and my sea legs on electric guitar and like playing lead and playing with feedback and playing with gear and pedals. And it was kind of the whole fake it till you make it. I got to borrow people's toys and just be like, okay, we're going to go be loud. I need to go be I need to go be the biggest dick on the bill because I'm the only non-dude. So I have to have the loudest shit. And I got to do that. And so that Spit It Out was made as a calling card. I found those players. We were a 5-piece for a minute. Life happened. Things changed. Things are super awesome now. I'm in a band with my hot girlfriend. And it's sick.
She keeps bringing it back, Ori, and you're like,
you can't get me to not think about it. Life's shit. There's shitty things going on. You got to focus on the positives.
you do. It's a very trying time right now.
You remember earlier when you dropped the call? I could be focused on that.
I mean, let's focus on the other big stuff going on, not that.
What else?
I just gotta say, this is like the most I've laughed during an interview, and it's made me very happy. So I appreciate you both so much.
I'm having a great time.
You did invite 2 screwballs, so
two absolute goobers.
It's Thursday. It's almost the weekend's over. The week's over.
Thursday's not my typical laugh day.
All right, I'm gonna try to steer us back on track a little bit. So, Playhouse, the album released in September 2024. You put it out on Bandcamp,
yeah,
and it's an awesome collection of the singles you put out in the past few years, along with a lot of new songs that you wrote and recorded. Each song kind of felt like it wasn't necessarily connected. It was its own story with almost a different emotion featured in each one. And my personal favorite was the way you ended the album, which with All I'm Saying, I thought it was an absolute heater to really like, what, that's it? Like I just got through the project, but I instantly want to consume more. And you kind of touched on this a little bit, but tell me a little bit about your creative process for the project and just in general. Like, is there a way that you go about writing? Is there a way you go about coming up with riffs or chords that you want to use in your songs?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a long time I was just writing by myself. The more we rehearse, the more we like build a lexicon sort of motifs and riffs that we come up with together that will inform songs. Because that's how I write. How I wrote a lot of Playhouse was just playing guitar by myself and I like that, I like this part, and playing it till it's in my fingers and then it's in my head and I'm just writing, and I think the more that we play together, the more that we'll write together. Yeah, most of those songs were they feel like different emotions because they were written in very heightened levels of emotion. A lot of that album, I think, was mostly written during the pandemic, where everything was just like very intense for me. Like, and I think for everybody, like every emotion you felt was a pretty massive point of the spectrum. It seemed because just it was such a high stress time. The joys were really, really big, and like little annoying things were also really big, and massive things you were somehow numb to and couldn't quite grieve correctly.
Yeah.
And then you guilted yourself about not grieving correctly. Yeah. And then you still kind of are in 2025. It's wild.
The effects of being cooped up in a house for almost a year, right?
I mean, yeah.
We as a society did not metabolize that well.
No, we're still, we're still, look at us.
And it's just like, let's brush past it. No worries.
Push that under the rug.
Yeah, right.
We'll vacuum.
Ori, with you entering the band, how has that process changed? Has it become a lot easier? The way you described how you guys work together, or you're able to identify what Kenna means when they're sharing their shorthand, not necessarily knowing the proper words for it or like the music theory behind it. How has it changed for you, and how is it fulfilling for you?
It's changed it's an interesting balance, right? Because Kenna as a songwriter, like, is incredible. Like, and I like, they got it. Like, so when I'm coming in, I'm trying to sort of understand the emotion that's happening in the song and kind of how to bring it out. in terms of like lyrically, occasionally they'll ask me like, well, what do you think about rhyming this with this? Or here's something that, and like, I'll throw my 2 cents in, but I think in terms of balancing everything, at this point, I let them do their thing and they come out with great fucking songs. And so I remember even just like learning, when I was learning Squarely, there's a section of that song after it's sort of like starting to pick up. It sort of builds to this point of kind of like anger and like expressive, angry energy. And then after that, like the way the instrumental part hits, it almost has like this longing quality to it for a second, because the song itself is about sort of feeling like played with and tossed out, and like, okay, well, I guess I didn't mean shit. Screw me for Karen. Like, and trying to figure out how during that part do I really like put an exclamation point on like that, the anger that's sort of in this line versus instrumentally what's happening after. Like, it almost feels more reflective and more like there's a little bit of grief in what's happening, and how do I complement that? It's really playing off of sort of the emotionscape that they wind up creating and playing support. There might come a time where like I walk in with a song written and I'm like, I think we should try this. And Kenna will be like, okay. But at this point, like I follow their lead.
It's good to see the differences in the approach. Every artist is so different, and to see where everyone comes from, I always think it's very important, and especially for up and coming musicians who don't necessarily know how to write or go about their own creative process. They're still finding themselves.
Yeah.
So we touched on a lot of tough stuff. You know, we've kind of mentioned what's going on in the world right now.
Twitt!
For context, Inauguration Day just happened.
Yeah.
For all of you.
Yeah. We live in
Yes.
America, and it's shitty here. Back to you.
So you both are part of the LGBTQIA plus community.
Mhm.
And you have often used your platform as one of empowerment and acceptance for these people in the community at every one of your shows, especially, I mean, Gender Envy was a dedicated event for people in that community.
Mhm.
But can you talk about what it means to each of you that you're able to offer such a safe space for the members of that community and be a voice for them through the music?
I think we can definitely speak to that. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. One, let me circle back to, I really can't express enough how much I appreciate that we have events that are sort of like dedicated to queer audiences and queer artists, and just shout outs to the people who put the events like Gender Envy together. My first show with this band, it's so cool that this was my first show, was basically a benefit for a group called Elevated Access, which just helps people get the care that they need. I don't want to elaborate too much right now because politically with what's going on, I don't want to bring any bullshit towards anybody, but I really can't state enough how much I appreciate and how much we need queer events right now, and for people to feel like they have a space where there are other people like them around.
Yeah. I think the next one is in April, also April 5th, and we are playing it in Bloomington.
Okay.
Anyways, but
in terms of like what a safe space means and creating a safe space, I wouldn't profess that we are going to have that our space is necessarily going to be guaranteed to be safe, because there are factors that are out of your control. I think when it comes down to it, it's listening and validating the experiences of people. When somebody says, hey, that didn't feel good, instead of like gaslighting them about it or talking about how them not feeling good affects you, or making fun of them, curiosity and concern as to why. And like, okay, well, how can we do that differently? Yeah, I think mainly it comes down to listening and validating other people's experiences instead of just trying to steamroll everything to fit into one set of behaviors. And we try to do that. Lord knows we have our own eccentricities. So like we also really appreciate having a space where it feels like people can sort of understand and hold space for that.
Yeah, I think
like this interview.
I think part of our role, and my learning of what that means. Like, I don't think that we're like spokespeople, but we're two trans people in a band who love making music together and think that like people should feel less ashamed for natural and beautiful parts of themselves, and everything else that's going on is fucking horseshit. And like, music is something that you can like my guitar tone without knowing that I'm a big old fucking queer. You can be like, what the fuck is that shit about? That double bass is blowing my fucking mind. You can feel our emotion without liking us. And I really feel that like we as people learn to love one another by being around each other. If we're not fucking around each other, then like we're not going to get to know each other and we're not going to love each other. There's so much hate at me, at her, at our queer siblings for just existing right now, that like that's why I do call like for cunts to the front at these shows. And I always specify who and what I mean by cunt. I mean my fellow trans people. I mean my gay people. I don't mean cis dudes and cis people who don't need to be up close right now. That's not who I'm trying to hug right now. That's not who I'm trying to fill up and refuel so we can go back out there and keep pouring, using our spoons to politely help along our siblings who still hate us for no fucking reason, who are so caught up in this crazy bullshit they forget that they actually like us. We've been around and with you like forever. It's crazy. This shit is crazy. And music is something that can bring people together. It's also something that can empower people. Like, I think that owning emotions, like these songs all have a disparate amount of emotion, a large display of emotion. And I think it's all about that last song. All I'm saying is like, all anybody really needs is somebody to stay with them, to be present with them in that dying moment. And we have many dying moments, we have many moments in our lives, many deaths and many transformations. And what we need is community. What we need is someone willing to stay inside, to stay with you, to stay present. That's like, it's a call for people to be vulnerable with each other and to like be safe in that. And to also, I don't know, there's so much in the responsibility of like asking for people to listen to your emotional music, but there's also like it's just like an invitation of like, I'm so thrilled that people like what they're listening to and that it feels good, and that like maybe it doesn't feel good, but it feels like you got something cleared the fuck out. Like, that's what that last song is for. We play it last at every show because like I can't follow it, we can't follow it.
There's no emotionally topping that.
It's just like, that is like the thing that I want for people. I just want people to have that moment. If they don't have that feeling anywhere else, then they have it for that 5-minute fucking banger of like, I feel alone and I am also scared. And all these people around me also feel that way.
Yeah.
And all I want is to be loved, and I do deserve that. And there isn't anyone in the room at any of these shows who doesn't deserve that. And that's what I love. I love getting to, like, it's really powerful to me right now. I've been a non-binary person for a long time now, but I like didn't realize I was trans. Like, I didn't realize that that made sense for me, that transgender, like that word like unlocked like 700 things in me. And I realized that like it was like a week before the election, and the day after the election I was driving to work wearing my gender expression for the first time, and I got hit. My car got totaled, and so I was wearing my dick out, like it was in my pants, like I didn't take it out. But like I was wearing my dick out in public, and before I had just done that in like at home, and still had no idea I was trans. Like, hilarious. But I got hit and I was surrounded by all these cops, and it was terrifying. And I was just, covering myself, trying to like fawn girl again. And it was like, oh man, this is like really fucking uncomfortable. And I really fucking don't like this. And there's nothing that I can do right now. Like, there's I have no fucking power. Like, I don't have money. My car is total. Like, it was just such a heavy moment and such a hilarious thing to be like, Trump is president, I am trans, and this is 12 fucking
Welcome
cops.
to the trans experience, kid.
Welcome to America. And yeah, it was. And so it's so incredibly powerful to me. Like, I think, like, we play shows because we need safe space. We don't go out to shows very often and see each other out in the wild. We have to, like, make calls for each other, you know. We have to, like, put fucking beacons up and be like, come together, let's come together. It's a two-way street. Like,
that's one of the
it's
things
beautiful. I love it.
That's one of the things I was going to get at was like, in terms of, so the queer spokesperson thing, like, I almost don't feel right now like I'm speaking to anyone else's experience or platforming anyone else's experience right now, but mine and ours, just because the way things are politically is so fucking personal right now, that it's like, I don't,
like,
I can just speak to what this fucking feels like, because like the spotlight is on fucking trans community right now, which is like 1% of the population, and people are spending like tens of millions of dollars in ads just like trashing us during football games. It's
crazy,
fucking weird, but I hope you got your political points, and I hope your eggs are cheaper.
So it's like, if you're looking at us, well, here's something actually of like sustenance. Like, here's, if they're gonna like make this big stink about us existing, like, here's two very normal, beautiful, wonderful people who have a wonderful relationship and get to showcase that and like provide this to like as like a beacon of hope to like my baby queers who like feel like a freak and feel like they're not going to be loved and like feel afraid to come out and feel afraid to wear their Packers, feel afraid to get their hormones, feel afraid to correct people on their pronouns. Like, to be able to look up and see yourself being loved and flirted with on stage, like, that's, I feel like that it's representation. It's an important, and it's a really vulnerable one.
We're giving you a really long-winded answer right now. I'm going to add one more.
And I hit you in the face, and I'm sorry. I didn't.
Go ahead.
I'm going to add one more point. And it's sort of on the other end of this of, there are times where we'll go into a space where it's like, I don't know how kindly they like people like us here, but we're just playing good music, and I feel like it starts us off on this good foot. And so sometimes I feel like when we are willing to engage with the labor around this, sometimes it puts us in a position where we can sort of be an example of, dude, we're just like normal fucking people like you. Like, I'm just trying to hang out with my partner and play music, and like, let's have a beer and talk. Like, I'm just a normal fucking person. I'm not stealing people's gold medals or fucking indoctrinating children or any of that shit. Like, how you dug our music. I'm a good hang. Like, we're getting along.
Do you
like,
want a sticker?
Like, we're not the fucking monsters that people think we are. Now, that labor shouldn't necessarily fall to us, but like I said, like, sometimes it does feel like, well, because we just slayed, it sort of feels like we sort of have like some goodwill here, and maybe we can use this as an opportunity to show people that might be a little uncomfortable around trans people typically, to sort of like bridge this gap of like, hey, we're just normal people, and now you know a trans person you got along with. Like,
yeah, and now
cool.
they can go out in goodwill and be like, hey, trans person, I saw another trans person last night.
Yeah, maybe I don't think they're all monsters now because I had an experience that showed me otherwise. We shouldn't have to fight that fucking caricature, but yeah, there are opportunities sometimes.
So it's cool. We like to do it. That's our answer.
That's how I'm gonna clip it up. Just that, like, it's super loaded.
It's cool.
Question.
We like to do it. Next question.
I appreciate both of you taking the time to really dive into that, because there are so many people out there that feel attacked, they feel unsafe, and that should never be the case. A person's a person, you know? Like,
yeah.
The one thing that you said, Kenna, that really made me think was how you are basically up on the stage and you call the cunts to the front and you're spoon feeding them. I kind of pictured like a watering can. Like, you're filling up the cups of these people who are at the shows and giving them that release for a 45-minute set or an hour set. Like, hey, you can be whoever you are right now. And even though we can't give you a whole lot of time, but you can make this time yours.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much power in that.
He should have just answered the fucking question.
Yeah, you answered it great. That's we'll use that one. We'll use that one in post. No, but I think that like you're also hitting on the reason of naming the band Sweetmelk and transitioning from, I'm not going to say that reason. I found out a different reason later, but it's dirty, so I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to say the sweet version. When I was making music under my name, Kenna May, I was going through some really fucked up shit and I hated myself. And I wrote songs about how much I hated myself, about how unworthy I found myself. I've had a fucking song called Loser. I look like a loser. I talk like a loser. I act like one too. And if you sing that about yourself to other people, it doesn't matter how many times someone says, I love your voice, I love your songs. You just sat up there and professed you are a fucking loser. And there's nothing that that just creates this huge void that never gets filled because you're constantly, I was writing songs that just were horrible to me because I had horrible feelings about myself that I had to get out. And then I got them out. I got them into a song. And then I sang all those songs over and over again. And then that was not feeding me. And that was not feeding. I didn't like
back into the negative.
I didn't like that I was also giving permission to other people in the audience to call themselves a loser, to even entertain that fucking feeling. I didn't like that. And Sweetmelk, it's like, also, it's mother's milk. It's nutrient dense. It is like straight and to the point. It is necessary to encourage growth. Yeah, Playhouse, the song is like super fluffy, and I just didn't want to have to take anything seriously in the middle of the pandemic with all those weights on my shoulders. But I also came at it with this intention of like, I am allowed to have that. And everyone is allowed to have that. And you should have that. You should ask for what you need. You should not take it seriously. You should let loose. You should play house. You should feel good. You should have fun. Like, feel good. That song in Living Room, like, huge intentional example of like, I did not want to make music that gave permission to my audience members who were often my friends, the 20 odd people who were buying my merch when I didn't have a job, living in my grandma's house, taking care of her, and like didn't have money for cigarettes, like making merch so that I could like have a little bit more money to be able to like buy things that I needed for my mental health. Like, just shit, man. Like, I didn't want to be giving permission to those people who are showing up for me, permission to hate themselves, to be harder on themselves than the world already was being. And so, like, there's no part of this band or this project or these songs that aren't just like full of how much I really want people to love themselves.
I think that you
fucking love you.
Jeez. The self-talk, I mean, that's something probably took you significant work to get to that point, to realize that, because you're so caught up in, well, I'm just expressing myself. Now you're at a point where you can identify that and make it known to the audience that we just want what's best for you. Mm. Again, so much power in that, and especially within the community, within the Central Illinois music scene as a whole too, because I feel like while you do speak to the LGBTQIA plus community, you also speak to just other people going through their issues.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of times that like people will come up to me after a show and it's a big, sweet, bearded dude who's like, I cried. It makes me so happy. Like, not that I made them cry. I don't want.
Tyler.
It was Tyler. Tyler cries at every show. He's crying right now.
Fuck, you figured out my secret.
No, but like I want that for people. I don't want people to fucking bury everything and keep it down, and like we were talking about earlier, like, you have permission to be. I can't give you safe space beyond this like 45 minutes that I have the power to like run the room. But as long as I'm in charge of the room and I'm the one with the microphone, you're fucking safe up here. And you come up here and you do what you need to fucking do. That includes standing at the back with your back against the subwoofer and fucking crying. And I think that's awesome. I just want people to engage with how they feel. And if this band helps them do that, if going to shows help them do that, like it helps me do that, I feel alive. So like help me feel alive. I don't know, it's awesome. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Just basically helping everyone's mental health and BD.
No big deal.
On a good day.
Tyler cries and that's
I cry.
That's
That's
good.
Good to express yourself, show your emotions, and
I want that. Make your face leak. It's good. She's like, we gotta wrap this up. They're getting weird. They're getting weird.
Again, thank you for such a delicate answer. Like just a great way to explain just everything that you, Ori, goes through, how the world around you is affecting you, and how you're providing this space, and everyone appreciates it. So thank you, and thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that. Wasn't meant to get this deep, but we'll try to liven it up. We'll try to liven it up a little bit.
Just keep it light.
Yeah, keep it jazzy when you're talking about being oppressed.
There's no more. Don't be suspicious. No, was there a TM on that though? Can we not do that? Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
We'll deal with it later, huh?
Suspicious.
Okay.
Aren't they leaving a funeral?
Yeah, I think they were.
You're trying to get back to business, and I'm like, nope. We're hyper focusing on the show.
We kind of charted a lot of the stuff that you've done in the past. It's 2025. It's a new year. Does Sweetmelk have anything cooking up? Anything for 2025? Yeah, big things coming. The praying hands emoji.
We have a music video coming out in February.
I wore a tiara for it.
She looks so pretty. We have a music video coming out for Playhouse in February on the 14th on Little Romantic Day, Eat Chocolate Day. It's known as Valentine's Day, and because we're cute. We have started on the next album, Studio Time. Technically, we have begun that, and we have some other fun little things that we're gonna do. Little videos, trying to get that 1999 Chevy Astro and mint in better condition, like a peppermint condition. Right now it's like a bubble gum. Not really something you should take on the road.
There's some other...
do. And yeah, there's some really fun.
There's some stuff in the works that I don't know if we can announce yet. So lots of stuff coming in 2025.
I've seen your stuff because you just released 2 songs on Spotify, and you have the Spotify canvas. Are those clips from the music video?
Yeah.
Okay, because I saw those as I was listening the other day, and I was like, ooh.
Is that slow-mo laundry? Yes,
laundry.
No, truly, she came over for the video, and I was like, so here's the plan. I didn't do my dishes. Here they are. And do laundry.
So let's make a video on it. I mean, it links into sort of the theme of the song.
It works.
Absolutely.
But I also
Playhouse.
got chores done that day, which is awesome. I didn't even have to do it.
The old 2-for-1.
Mm-hmm.
The old twofer.
Okay, so these last 2 questions that I have, I ask everyone that comes on. What is your favorite part of being in the Central Illinois music scene?
The winter.
We're going to break up right now.
That is my fear at every show. As long as Banter gets so unhinged that she's going to break up with me like right then.
She's just giving you the look.
She's like, she just starts counting in the song. She's just like, and you're done. And I'm like, okay, I hope my cable's on the right track.
The least subtle way possible.
Turns out it
when
was
your
not on the
girlfriend's
right
the drummer, no choice.
But you take this one first.
What was the question? I forgot.
Not the winters.
No, yeah.
Favorite part of
my favorite part of the Central Illinois music community scene. I think that it is like the fact that it feels like a community. When I meet other Midwest punk bands, like especially those in the queer community, it is like, I mean, we were at was it at Reggie's when we did that, and we met like this really cool sound engineer who was like, I'm also in a queer duo, like we should connect for a show. And it like just like and we had played like, it was like little bit of a shit show of a day. There was like 20 million bajillion bands on the bill, and we played last, and we didn't know we were playing last, and we got there really early for sound check. It was crazy. But there was a lot of sweet people there, and one of them was one of these production folks, and they also were in a queer duo. So just like meeting other queer punk bands and how excited I think like it's like a juxtaposition of how scary it feels outside of our inner worlds and getting to expand our inner world geographically, like, oh, you're in St. Louis, oh, you're in Chicago, oh, you're in Lexington, like knowing that we have just that there's something also just like psychological that it does for me of like there's another one of us over there. There's another one of us over there, like, and really doing it, like really other bands that are trying to make community space, not just because it's trending to be whatever, because it's hard right now and we need a soft spot to land, and the only people who are going to provide that for each other is one another. And so like running into those like minds is like awesome. And then if you combine that with like just the Midwestern emo thing, it is like some of the like best conversations about music that I've had have been these just like house show driveways and earplugs way too deep in your eardrum. Like it just like I think that's my favorite part is getting to meet the other bands and talk about writing and experiencing.
Yeah, I think sort of echoing off that, I think my favorite thing about the Central Illinois scene is the challenge of and like the quirks that you wind up finding, and like, all right, so we've got Peoria, we've got Champaign, we've got Springfield. We've kind of got like these mid-sized, sort of bigger cities that are kind of these weird mixes of some are college towns, like with Blono and with Champaign-Urbana, and some are I don't know what the hell to classify Peoria as.
Yeah,
but
it's there.
She's kind of charming, but this challenge of navigating like all of these different hubs and the culture of bands that come out of there, and like you said, like, it's so cool that in Central Illinois, there's this like circuit of queer bands that not only sort of like pay attention to each other and look out for each other, but also seem to be inspiring more.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed just since being in Sweetmelk, I've noticed more queer bands pop up, and it's really cool to see the culture come out of this and to navigate the challenge of like, okay, it's not fucking Chicago. Like we're in this other like lesser known circuit, and we're making it our own space. It's fun.
Just a good sense of community all around. It's
yeah. It's hyper personal in the Midwest polite smile type of way. You have to see the person like a couple times before you're going to be real awkward and really dive into a conversation. And it's awesome that way.
Evidently not.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Our final question in this already really long interview.
I'm so sorry.
No worries. It's really not a big deal.
More brief.
You can edit it for content.
No editing. Take nothing out.
Just the raw file.
Raw file. Keep it raw. I'm so sorry.
Sweetmelk wants you to keep it. Put it on a shirt.
We're talking about safe space again.
And then you could put like a jug of raw milk on it. There you go.
Keep it chunky. Oh
keep
my God.
Keep it unpasteurized.
He actually just left me. I'm now a solo act.
Okay.
Play with a drum track.
Final question for Sweetmelk tonight. I know this is kind of a tricky question, and just kind of bear with me for a second. There's a lot of great artists and bands in the scene, but everyone has a favorite. Mm-hmm. Who is your favorite artist or band right now in the scene?
Fuck you for this question.
I think that we should say it. We should say it at the same time.
Okay.
We're going on 3 or right after 3.
Just answer it. We don't need to say it at the same
No.
time.
I want to do it. 1, 2, 3. Emily the band. Okay. All right. She didn't get my telepathic.
Emily the band is really good.
2 amazing choices.
Yeah.
I wanted to shout out Jalen, and not technically a band. I don't think
she's a solo act.
Yeah.
But she's working. She's working on stuff.
Yeah, just one of the best singers. Like we were talking earlier, like the effect that Kenna sort of had on me when I saw them sing. Jalen, who is local to Champaign-Urbana,
Jalen is
right?
local,
Yeah. When I heard them sing, they sound amazing melodically. Like there's a lot of jazz influence in what they're happening, and then like they played to like a looping backing track.
Yeah,
that had,
they
like
live loop their own vocals, and like it's crazy. I'm sorry.
That had like crazy compound time signatures. I'm like, oh, there's a bar of 9/8 and a bar of like 15/8, and then like it's like high level shit that they're doing, and I think it goes over a lot of people's heads.
She stacks chords like she's so slyly dexterous. Like when she's up there, like she'll like sing a note, like she's just throwing it. She's throwing it over her shoulder, like just like there's a note, you know, and it's like, oh, that was a note, and then she sings another note 2 seconds later, and she's like, oh, you were recording that one note that you already said, and then there's 7 notes, and she does it, and it's crazy, and it blows your mind, and then she's singing things like, maybe I don't know, and maybe that's okay. These fucking freedom songs, these songs that really let you let go. It's incredible. And I think that that's the thing when people are touched by music and musicians. It's when an artist can hand you that key, can hand you that, like, okay, you can let go of that now. And like, she really fucking does that. And she's Jalen Hope is, we love Jalen Hope.
So follow her on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's J''LYNHOPE. Jalen Hope. Killer artist. Would recommend having them on this show as well.
Oh yeah, she's awesome. And then Emily the band. Emily the band. I mean, Tammy, Abby, like, oh my God, like I love them.
First things Emily ever said to me, we were doing like some merch thing, and she comes up to me, she goes, so what do you do for fun besides just kiss NBs and girls all day, you les?
God,
like, this is a Wendy's.
This is a Wendy's, and I worship you. I love her.
Yeah.
And those what are they called? Those Crocs? Those freaking Crocs? She wears these freaking Crocs with little pins in them. She's so cute, and I hate them for being so cute and talented, and love them. I don't hate them. It's like cute aggression when you see a puppy that's also a magnificent wolf and also like your bestie. I love them. I love them so much. Like Cam is like one of the most incredible guitar players. Like really, I love watching them play. They sat in with us at our CD release show and played the fucking lick from Playhouse. And they just tone master, absolute tone master. I love Emily the band. I love that Emily does songs that she wrote when she was like 12, and they're fucking good. Because I was talking about Up the Stairs and Through the Door when I was 11, and she's got songs on her albums that she wrote when she was 11 that are actually like fucking good, that are like that are brilliant, you know, and their harmonies, and they record themselves. I could go on and on. They do all their own production. Like,
they're very good.
Genius. They're fucking talented. They just started a podcast. Let me just glow them up. I think it's called Is This a Date? Which I'm obsessed with. I want to be on it, and I want it to be a date. I don't know if they're taking guests, but I want to be on it. Yeah, and we're playing a show together on the 14th. They have a release show the 15th. So at the gallery.
Their new album, correct?
Yeah. So that's coming out on the February 15th. So we have our little music video on the 14th, and then we're playing their music release show on the 15th. We love Emily the band. They're perfect baby angels.
Shout out Emily the band.
Forever.
I did a deep dive on them last night as well, and
oh my God,
favorite song is Tuesday Street. This is my note on Tuesday Street. I'm starting to wish karma was a bitch like me. And I think that speaks for itself, you know.
It really, everything. I love. They give me hope. True, absolute hope.
I'll have to check out Jalen Hope.
You must. Yeah, you must.
I will for sure be listening. But I want to thank you both for coming on tonight, sharing your stories, getting a little crazy, and that's okay.
It's a little
unedited. It's going to be raw. Sweetmelk wants it raw.
Raw and chunky. Sweaty milk. No.
I'm never gonna financially recover from this.
No, I'm so sorry. No, this was so fun. I loved this was like a very fun interview.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed. I try to keep a good balance of like not getting too serious, even though we did, but also I want to ask questions that actually are about the music. I feel like a lot of interviews, because I came from an athletic background. So when I was in athletics, I hated when people would interview me and it was like, okay, talk about your coach for a second. Like you're interviewing me about the team, about like why do I have to talk about my coach?
No, this was
All right.
super fun. You're a good interviewer. This was super fun.
Thanks. Be sure to keep up with Sweetmelk after this interview. It's been a lot of fun. Got a little crazy. You can find more crazy stuff over on their Instagram @_Sweetmelk. That's milk with an E. Don't forget. And on Facebook. All this stuff will also be linked in the show notes, so don't worry. Be sure to listen to their latest album, Playhouse, which is now available on their Bandcamp page, which I will also link in the description. Help the scene. Help support local artists. They have a car to fix, for Pete's sakes. A few of those songs are also available on streaming platforms, so be sure to check it out there too. And just like that, that's our show. You've been hanging out with Clubhouse Chronicles, where the sounds are hot, the stories are hotter, and the vibes absolutely off the charts. Don't forget, hit up @Broken Record Music Club on socials for all the updates, news, and more on this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe to keep up with the cool video stuff that we are going to be rolling out throughout the year. Until then, keep it loud, keep it proud, and remember, Central Illinois is where the music magic happens. Peace!